Russia-Ukraine War, a comprehensive analysis. Introduction. The Russia-Ukraine War, which began on February 24, 2022, has become one of the most significant conflicts of the 21st century. It has reshaped global geopolitics, caused immense human suffering, and led to severe economic and military consequences for both nations and the international community. With casualties numbering in the hundreds of thousands and damages amounting to billions of dollars, the war has had a profound impact on the region and beyond. This article delves into the origins, key developments, global responses, and potential future scenarios of the war. Origins of the conflict. The roots of the Russia-Ukraine conflict can be traced back to historical tensions between the two nations, particularly following the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. Key events leading up to the war include 2014 annexation of Crimea. Russia annexed Crimea after Ukraine's pro-Western revolution, leading to international sanctions and condemnation. The annexation was widely viewed as a violation of international law and led to increased tensions between Russia and the West. Eastern Ukraine conflict. Pro-Russian separatists, with alleged support from Moscow, began an insurgency in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. This conflict resulted in thousands of deaths and widespread displacement before the full-scale war began in 2022. NATO and EU aspirations. Ukraine's growing alignment with Western institutions, including NATO and the European Union, was viewed by Russia as a strategic threat, contributing to its decision to invade. Russia has long opposed NATO's eastward expansion, citing security concerns and encroachment on its sphere of influence. Key developments in the war. Initial invasion, February 2022 to April 2022. Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, targeting Kyiv, Kharkiv, and other key cities. The initial offensive faced strong resistance from Ukrainian forces, preventing Russia from capturing Kyiv. Western intelligence had anticipated a rapid Russian victory, but Ukraine's defense strategy, coupled with Western military aid, helped stall Russian advances. Shifts in strategy, mid-2022, early 2023. Siege of Mariupol. Russia captured Mariupol after months of intense fighting, with reports of heavy civilian casualties and human rights violations. Kherson and Kharkiv counteroffensives. Ukraine successfully regained territories in late 2022, pushing Russian forces out of several occupied regions and demonstrating its ability to launch effective counterattacks. Missile and drone strikes. Russia intensified attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, leading to blackouts, heating shortages, and humanitarian crises, especially during the harsh winter months. Prolonged conflict, 2023-present. As the war entered its second year, it evolved into a war of attrition, with both sides focusing on fortifications, drone warfare, and international support. Battle for Bakhmut, one of the bloodiest battles, leading to heavy losses on both sides. The city became symbolic of the larger struggle between Ukraine and Russia. Western military aid. The US, EU, and NATO allies provided advanced weaponry, including tanks, air defense systems, long-range missiles, and artillery, shifting the battlefield dynamics. Russian mobilization. Russia enacted partial mobilization, increasing troop numbers on the front lines. Reports indicated growing domestic unrest over conscription and war-related economic hardships. Global responses and impact. Political and economic sanctions. Western nations imposed harsh sanctions on Russia, including banning Russian oil and gas imports in many countries, leading to significant economic disruptions. Freezing Russian assets and restricting financial transactions, impacting Russia's economy and currency stability. Expanding military and economic support for Ukraine, strengthening its defensive capabilities. Humanitarian crisis. The war has caused a severe humanitarian crisis. Over 10 million Ukrainians displaced, with many seeking refuge in Europe. The refugee crisis has put pressure on European countries and international aid organizations. Widespread destruction of cities and infrastructure, including hospitals, schools, and cultural sites. Rising food and energy prices globally due to disrupted supply chains, particularly affecting developing nations that rely on Ukrainian grain exports. Geopolitical shifts. Strengthen NATO. Finland and Sweden applied for NATO membership, altering the security landscape in Europe and further isolating Russia diplomatically. China and India's role. While critical of Western sanctions, these nations maintained economic ties with Russia, increasing trade in energy and other commodities. Global defense spending. Many nations, including Germany and Poland, increased military budgets in response to rising threats, marking a shift in defense priorities worldwide. Potential future scenarios. Prolonged stalemate. If neither side gains a decisive advantage, the conflict could continue indefinitely, resembling a frozen war with periodic escalations. The front lines may remain largely unchanged, leading to continued destruction and suffering. Ukrainian victory. If Ukraine regains all occupied territories, including Crimea, it would mark a significant defeat for Russia, potentially leading to political instability in Moscow. However, achieving this would require sustained Western support and major military breakthroughs. Russian escalation. Russia could escalate the conflict further through nuclear threats, increased mobilization, or targeting additional nations. Cyber warfare and economic retaliation could also play a role in Russia's strategy to exert pressure on Western nations. Diplomatic resolution. A negotiated settlement, though unlikely in the short term, could involve compromises on territorial control, security guarantees, and economic agreements. Both sides would need to make significant concessions, and international mediators may play a key role in facilitating peace talks. Conclusion. The Russia-Ukraine war remains an evolving and complex conflict with far-reaching consequences. Its outcome will shape international relations, economic stability, and security for years to come. As the world watches closely, the war underscores the fragility of global peace and the high stakes involved in modern warfare.